wants to bless you. So, I have to remind myself of that every day, Barry,
Oh
because
yeah.
there's something inside of me that wants to believe that God is mad at me and wants to just swat me down. And I think that's inside of every single
Uh-huh.
person because we live in a fallen
Uh-huh.
state. And that's why Adam and Eve were, I don't know. I'm just saying, he cares. He's going to show up for you. If you need him, call on him. He'll come. He's just waiting for you to call.
This is a perfect segue into what I wanted to talk about in the first segment. Um, and it's about the new Pope.
Ah,
Almost everything I have for the most part of importance, I fell upon this morning. And everything's breaking news right now.
it
But
sure is.
what we're talking about is I asked Merle for a prayer for us over here, just as we go through how we all go through our challenges and how our occupations affect our everyday being. It affects
Hmm.
everything, how we present ourselves, how we walk through this world. And what that makes me think about when I read a story about this Pope. I took some notes on it. New Pope, old questions. Will Leo the whatever X1V
It's
deliver?
14th.
Say again.
The 14th.
The 14th. Will he deliver real reform? Here are the notes. Pope Leo XIV, formerly Cardinal Robert Prevost, I don't know how this works, but has been elected as the first American pope. He previously served as the prior general of the Augustinians. And during his leadership, the order faced multiple sexual abuse allegations, including a high profile case involving the former president of Providence Catholic High School in New Lenox, Illinois. That case led to a $2 million settlement. Critics say Prevost failed to act decisively to promote transparency regarding the abuse, and now as Pope, his past leadership's under scrutiny, especially by abuse survivor advocates, which I am one. The big question, will his papacy, if I said that right, prioritize real accountability and reform? His election is historic but controversial, and given his unresolved legacy. Now, I know you got a lot to say about this, Merle. I have a lot of questions, and what I really want to say that I explored this a lot with chat this morning because I've been so disturbed by the Catholic Church for so many years, as so many of us have. And I think they've done a huge disservice to all of Christianity as a result of their cover-ups and their misdeeds to over 100,000 children last I recall. That's a lot of family members implicated as a result. So that's a lot of very hurt people out there
Yes.
without a feeling of justice. And what I've always wondered is, first of all, if they were to resolve any of this, I think they would have to be extremely forthcoming and apologetic and lay out a book of everything that has happened and a follow-up book on how it will never happen again. I don't see where much of that has been done. And my real point to all of that is disservice that has been done to all of Christianity as a result. Now, we could talk about how, hey, well, that's why we have different denominations and so on. But uh, um, this seems like evil on earth. I mean, how can you infiltrate the biggest symbol of Christianity on this earth in such a horrific way? And not, I just got to turn it over to you now.
Well, I agree with you on many levels here, Barry, that the Catholic Church, we've known for a long time, has got this stigma on it regarding these abuse cases of young boys for the most part. And the reasons for that, I have no idea what the reasons for that are, but as you have said, it has caused a real problem with people and their view of organized religion. I mean,
Yeah.
that's kind of what it is. It's
Hmm.
they look at the Catholic Church and they say, I don't want anything to do with organized religion. And it's not just the Catholic Church. We've got all kinds of issues with the church that are going on right now. But the Catholic Church seems to be right now in the spotlight, especially with our last Pope, Pope Francis. And a lot of the things that he stood for didn't really line up with the Bible. And so there's a lot of really concern about this in the Catholic Church, and even when you really look at the history of the Catholic Church and world politics over the last really the entire history of the Catholic Church, there's some serious skeletons that are in the closet there through what the priests were saying. Even when books had been invented in the 1500s, if anybody was caught with the Bible, they could be executed.
So man had to deliver. In other words, the infiltration of man into that good word.
And therefore, what you have here, look at the Sistine Chapel. The Sistine Chapel was built out of a whole situation of tithing, but it was this whole notion that you could pay to have your sins
Mm,
blighted from the record.
mm,
And that is
mm.
absolutely unbiblical. But you had this huge thing happen where everybody wanted to pay to get out of it. They built the whole Sistine Chapel with that kind of money. They told people during the Crusades that if they joined the Crusades and murdered all these people in the Holy Land,
Yeah.
that they could have all their debts forgiven, and also they could ensure that they were going to go to heaven.
Oh
Um,
man,
there,
I never heard it put that way. That is just a very obvious stepping stone to where we are today.
Well, it is. And really, when you take a look at how the church has been used, and the Catholic Church isn't the only one guilty of this, it's all about man controlling man. And religion, man's religion has been used that way. That is not God's plan. But absolute power always corrupts
Yeah,
absolutely. And it's
yeah,
very simple to make that happen in a church. And
yeah.
when people perceive that you have their eternal destiny in your hand, it's very easy to manipulate people like that. And the Catholic Church and many churches are guilty of that, and that has destroyed people's ability to have faith in that. And then they say, "Oh, organized religion, it's
Uh-huh.
evil." And
Hmm.
it's not. Some of it is,
It's easily
and you have to be
corruptible.
careful. There are wolves in sheep's clothing out there. We are warned about that in the Bible. And so you take a look at the Catholic Church, and they're in all kinds of turmoil here. This new pope coming in happens to be the first American pope ever, and he's coming in and he's got his hands full. Each pope that comes in has to address this terrible blight of sexual abuse that's happened in the Catholic Church. The last one had to address it, and he did a terrible job of addressing it. He tried to sweep it under the rug. It's not
Hmm.
going to stay under the rug.
Nope.
And he tried to persecute Catholic bishops that were trying to get this solved. One of them is in New York, and he had this guy excommunicated. So the new pope is coming in, and he's got his hands full of this reputation that the Catholic Church has. You've got this whole notion that the previous priest, I'm sorry, pope, was pretty much saying that all religions are valid paths to God, which is a separation from Catholic Church doctrine. And so you've got a lot of people that have lost faith,
Mm.
and this person's going to have to try to pick that up again. I don't know how successful that's going to be, and I'm not real familiar with who this person is.
Mm. Let me ask you, what is your denomination?
I don't have one.
I was kind of thinking you would say that. And I really like the sounds of that
It's
because,
kind of like being nonpartisan.
yeah, well, yeah, yeah, it's independent. You're
Right, right. If my
religiously independent.
I read the Bible on a daily basis. I search to understand what's in there, and I but I've been a part of a non-denominational church for a long time. And I don't care to go into a particular denomination.
I like the sounds of that. What are your thoughts about the Catholic Church then? Would you like to see it just go away, be
No,
dismantled?
no, no. I think there are Catholics out there that are very strong believers in the Lord. I feel like the leadership is definitely a problem. But I think one of the problems I see in the Catholic Church is there doesn't seem to be a lot of teaching about the grace of Jesus Christ. In other words, that he has taken on all of our sin for us, and therefore we are completely accepted by God. And I don't have to, there's nothing in the Bible that tells me that I have to go to a priest and have him intercede for me to forgive my sins.
Mm,
Um, as a result, I feel like a lot of Catholics go around feeling very guilty and feeling that God
Catholic
is,
guilt.
this is what we talked about earlier, that God is mad at me.
Hmm.
And therefore, what right do I have to bother him with my puny little prayer?
Hmm.
Because he's busy, right, running the universe.
Well,
And
see, how I feel about that is I feel that all the Catholics I've known in my life, almost all of them would say, "Oh, I'm a non-practicing Catholic." There,
uh-huh.
so there's always the fear and there's always the guilt and there's none of the salvation. I mean,
Yeah.
this is what I hate about Catholicism amongst everything else. And um, I just wish that we could open up. I'm happy, so happy you and I are talking about this openly right now because I feel like everyone's afraid to.
Well, and I don't want to come off as I'm dogging Catholics because I love
Sure.
Catholics and
Yeah.
I believe that they're part of the body of Jesus Christ. My real issues with the leadership of the Catholic Church. I think they've done a disservice to Christianity, as
Mhm.
you have
It's my
mentioned.
point.
And
Yeah.
here's another thing is that the Catholic Church is the largest holder of gold in the world. How can that be?
Why? That's the first thing that comes to me.
Okay, so
Why?
here's the deal, Barry, is that the Catholic Church for hundreds of years in Europe was controlling all politics in Europe. You could not
Way
be a
too much
king.
power.
You
Way
could
too
not be a
much power.
king in Europe without the blessing of the Catholic Church. And so that is, and also, we're in charge of forgiving your sin. And so, if you would like to go to heaven, here's
Yeah.
how much it's going to cost, is
Oh
kind of
man.
what was going on back then.
Yeah.
And so, the Catholic Church is a huge gold holder. And I think that's a real problem, especially when you consider the mission of the church and okay, so why do you have all the gold? Why don't you use it to solve some of these issues that are out there, like poverty
Mhm.
or some of these other things. You're I don't know. It's one of those things where you got to question this.
See, that's why I say, but I'll preface it with saying I am admittedly ignorant to most things organized religion wise. But I think I sit where most people do as far as their education on this. And I just feel like this world would be better off without the Catholic Church. And I think the Catholics would be better off switching to a different denomination where they feel what you feel. The salvation, the forgiveness, the power of the positive feelings that come along, hope. The hope and not the freaking guilt that is well deserved by being part of such a bastardized form of Christianity. And I think everything I said right there is probably going to piss a lot of people off, and it might be wrong in a lot of ways. I don't know. That's how I
Well,
feel.
there's a couple of things too. I mean, I'm again, I don't want to come off as dogging the Catholic Church because
You
a lot
haven't.
of people they love it, and
Uh-huh.
but when I go to the Catholic Church, and I've been there for weddings and funerals, um, I I feel the ritual that's happening, but I don't feel the passion in the ritual. It's almost like it's an obligation, right?
Mm.
Like I've got to do this. I got to, check the box kind of thing. And it's just, everybody stands up and they say the same prayer. And my preference is that each of us are individuals and we have a personal relationship with God. And so when we come together corporately, we should be able to talk about God in a more personal way that's more relatable to all of us. This is the Bible study that I'm a part of every couple of weeks, where this is really the best church experience I've ever had, Barry, because we come together as the body of Christ. And when I say that, what the Lord says is that we're all, as believers, we're all a part of this body. And just like your own body, your hand can do one thing, your eye serves another purpose. But when you put them together, your hand and your eye, you can catch a football, right? Like your eye can't catch a football, and your hand can't catch a football without your eyes. It's the same thing when we bring the body of Christ together. Everybody's got a certain thing that God has put inside of you, that when we get together, it's almost like going from black and white TV
Mm.
to Technicolor, right?
Mm.
And so we've got a small group of believers together, and each one of us, God has blessed us with something. And when we come together, it's almost like the missing pieces of the puzzle come together to make this beautiful picture. I leave that. I cry for joy almost every time we're in that meeting together. It doesn't feel like this church experience where you're like,
All right.
it's alive. It's personal. It's revelation. It's mind blowing. It's like when you can feel like God loves us so much. It's exciting.
You
It
make it
makes it
sound
so it's
like
exciting every day.
musicians in an orchestra
It's
kind of
exactly
deal.
like
Yeah.
that. That's exactly it, it's a I read this book one time called The Mastermind, and it talks about how um we when we come together to solve problems as a group and we're really in sync with each other, it's almost like we form another brain, like a corporate brain.
Uh-huh. Hmm.
But this is really what happens in the body of
Oh yeah.
Christ is
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
come together. It's just like when I play my guitar by myself. It sounds pretty good. It sounds all right. But when I get together with my brother Scott and we
Yeah.
play together, it's like,
Yeah.
holy cow, I didn't know my guitar could sound like that.
Oh, that's great, dude.
And it's
Uh,
like that with church too. And I feel like
mhm.
the Catholics are missing that.
That's a really good point. Because there's one thing that I have really discovered as I've gotten older. I think I talked about it recently, is that we are all interconnected. We share this consciousness. And when you get together and you get on that same frequency like you are, you're experiencing something larger than just yourself for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. That's the truth. And it is the power of really the church that we need to stir up, I think. We need to get out of the rituals of church. I don't think that, I mean, really, when I look at the Bible, it's, God is saying that it's your sacrifices I don't really care about. It's your heart that I want. And so that's really the spirit of God. He's a personal God. When I think about him, I think about our friendship that we have and how we relate to each other on such a deep interpersonal level. And that's really how God is with us. He chose to come here to earth and walk in a human body so that he could relate to us. And when we come to, oh yeah, I know what that's like. I know what it's like to be betrayed by a friend. I know what it's like when everybody says that they don't like you. Like he's the only one that can relate to every little problem that you have. And you look at like our faith, and I don't what what kind of person would do that? I mean, God doesn't have to do that, but he cares so much about us that he did that. And I think just realizing that kind of love is really a purifier in my whole life. It's like, gosh, no matter what happens, I have God is caring about me and loving me wherever I go, no matter even if I say the wrong thing or do the wrong thing. He's quick to forgive. In fact, the way God says it, he's already forgiven me for all my future sins. So it's like he's not mad at me. The story of the prodigal son. Do you know that story, Barry?
No, I don't.
This is the greatest story in the Bible. And it's a story about this guy like you and I, and he's growing up in a household with his brother, and and he decides, Dad, I I want my inheritance right now. I'm not going to wait for you to die. Give me the inheritance, and I'm just going to live
You
my own life.
told me this recently.
This is such a great story. So the guy goes out
Huh.
with the money. Of course, that's got to hurt his dad's feelings, right? Like who wouldn't be hurt by that? He goes out, lives it up, buys a bunch of booze, prostitutes, drugs, whatever.
Wow.
He's just partying his ass off. Then he runs out of money. And then he's in total poverty. The last scene is he's eating from a pigsty, and he's like, you know what?
Is this
The
Hunter Biden?
the slaves, that's funny. The slaves in my father's house, the servants in my father's house get food and clothing. I would do a lot better off just being a servant in my father's house. I'm just going to go back and say I'm sorry for the stuff that I did. I don't deserve being a son. Make me one of your servants. So he goes back home. He's coming over the horizon. His dad sees him from a long way off. He lifts up his robe so he can run and runs to him. And before his son can say anything about his speech that he planned, the father embraces him with tears and, oh, my son was dead and now he's alive. And he commands his servants to kill the fatted calf. Let's have a party. My son was dead and now he's alive. And put shoes on his feet and put a ring on his finger. And now, what does that mean? Put shoes. You put shoes. The servants were barefoot, so you put shoes. So he's part of the family. Put a ring. It's a signet ring, meaning that he can cash checks with this, or he can sign the checks with the signet ring. So he has access to all the wealth and also all the favor. And he's a son. He's part of royalty. This is a picture of how God sees us, and that he doesn't all the things that we've ever done. All we have to do is turn to him. He's waiting for us to he's scanning the horizon waiting for us. All we got to do is turn, and then he lavishes his love on us. I think people forget that that's who God really is.
What's the end of the story? I mean, so does Hunter Biden go break bad again, or does
No,
he find
no, he
salvation?
does not. No, this is it, is that the grace of God causes you not to want to do those things anymore. Why would you do that to a person that loves you that much? Now, an interesting question. What happens at the end of the story? The brother shows up and he is not happy because here, Dad, he just stole all that money from you, lived like a thief, and came back. And I've been here the entire time. I've done everything you asked me to do. You never killed a fatted calf for me. What's up? And he says, son, while you've been here, you've had access to everything that was mine. And anytime you wanted a fatted calf, we'd do it and we'd have your friends at any time. It's always been accessible to you. Now, that's the end of the story, but it's an interesting ending because it, it shows where people that are already in the church, and I think we're talking about the Catholic Church right now, they might not realize that they have this forgiveness available to them. So when they see other people that are receiving forgiveness, it makes them angry. Wait, I'm doing all these rituals, and here's Merle not doing any of them. And oh, look how happy he is. I can't stand that guy. And that also is one of the devil's tricks to separate the church. And it's very interesting how that happens.
But I could interpret what you just said is so go out and live like an ass. You can just come back and pick right back up whenever you want.
I'm so glad you said that, Barry, because that means that I actually am saying the message right.
Hmm.
I feel so good about this because here's the deal is that Paul in his gospel says, well, what then? Does that mean we can just go out and just sin like a pirate? And then he says, heavens no. And he goes into the exact explanation that I'm giving to you. You see, God gives you this liberty to be yourself. And in the face of his love, it's going to automatically change you. And that's what I'm talking about is that when you understand the liberty that he gives you, you don't want to hurt him. You don't want, like, look at this prodigal son. He already spent the money and did all these things. And when he came back, his dad forgave him. And you could see how much his dad loves and respects him. How can he cross that line again?
Hmm.
That's written now. Could you? Yeah, you could. But when people really understand that love, Barry, they don't.
You'd even be betraying yourself at that point.
That is a great point. But this is the Barry, the fact that you just understood that is a pretty big deal right there because that is the secret to God's love is understanding exactly that. Is that it seems like what God is saying is just do whatever you want. You can sin and it's okay. That's not what he's saying. He does not like sin. But what he's saying is that he's already paid for all of your sin. So therefore, you know the law of double jeopardy. You can't be
Hmm.
tried twice for the same crime. That comes from the Bible. Um, God, God doesn't hold your sin against you any longer. All of the wrath of sin has been paid out on Jesus' body. That's what he came for. That's why he did that. And so when you start understanding, he did it for you personally, Barry. When you start understanding that, this power of his love and the joy starts to come into you too. You start to, the more you focus on that, the more you start to transform into his likeness. You start acting like him automatically. You're not trying. See, that's the thing is in religion, you have to force yourself to be a certain way before you can be accepted. It's the opposite with God. With God, he wants you just as you are. And the change is it just happens automatically. You don't have to try. The only thing you have to do is hear him. And the more you hear him and receive his word, the more you just start to automatically change into his likeness. I can tell you that I see that happen. And the person I saw that the most in was my father.
Hmm.
He like transformed almost overnight. And then it was just like, okay, God's got to be real then because nobody could change that guy.
Well, I think the what you talked about here and the way that you unwrapped it, everybody should hear because it's kind of what the problem is in our society today and why people have turned their back on I don't like the word religion. It comes with a lot of baggage.
I don't
But
think God likes religion either.
yeah, enlightenment, a higher power, however you want to say it, is when you realize that we are all interconnected and we are purposefully felt to feel so separate right now. But when we feel the interconnectedness, that there's a healing, there's an enlightenment to that in and of itself.
Oh, absolutely. And that's really the truth is that God values our community and our like love your neighbor is really what I'm talking about here. He wants us to be able to come together to help each other. He could send his angels, but he wants to use us. He wants us to be a part of his glory. And so, as you can see in our society today, there is this big push to disunite us. And
Hmm.
there is a force that is being enacted on us to make that happen. I always say that what we're dealing with is the battle between good and evil. But you could take a look at various things and you can see that For instance, communism. We have all these communist countries that are out there. And I've just been doing a very deep study on communism and read this book called The Naked Communist by Cleon Skousen. And he is an expert on this from the FBI. He wrote this in 1958. And part of his book was read into the congressional record in the 1960s. But I thought I'm not going to be able to learn anything new about communism, but I did right from the very beginning. And what I learned was that this whole economic platform that the communists have, where everybody gets to, equal pay and everything, that's just propaganda.
Oh,
The
yeah,
whole
it
thing
is.
is rooted on a religion. And communism's actually a religion called dialectical materialism. And you and I have done a little bit of talking about that, but the further I got into it, I realized that dialectical materialism is a religion hell bent on destroying not only capitalism, but also Christianity, Judaism, or any other
That's
kind
what
of
comes
religion that's
first.
out there.
You
You
have to
have to do that.
destroy the existing religion before you can institute and have that take hold.
And the reason for it is pretty simple, is that people that have religion have morals and values that they can't betray. So in order to be a good communist, you absolutely have to buy into their cult religion, which says that morality is based on whatever is expedient to advance the communist goal. And if
God, that
that means
sounds
murder, then that's fine. Or if it means rape, then that's fine too. Whatever the ends justifies the means, and might makes right. And so when you take a look at that, you start to wonder why we have this policy here in the United States of coexisting with the nations like China, and many of these other communist nations. You take a look at it, Barry, today, right now, in Cuba. We've got a serious crisis happening again right there, where the Chinese have installed these antenna all around Cuba that's picking up our secret signals here in the United States, only 90 miles off the coast. And this has just been discovered. There's no peaceful coexistence with the likes of China. Their goal is to completely destroy us. They want us to be dead. How do you partner up with a country like that?
right.
And this trade war that's happening here is a war. There's a war that's happening. We're in a war right now. And there are casualties that are happening right now. When you take a look at the over 100,000 a year that are dying from fentanyl overdose, and you realize that fentanyl is coming from Wuhan, China, and it's on purpose to get revenge over the opium wars of the 1800s, where the West inflicted opium on China. It all starts to make sense. 100,000 young people dying last year is more people that than died per year in the Civil War, which was where we lost the most young people in our history. So the Chinese are killing off more of our military age personnel every year without even declaring war.
Yeah.
And this is we this has to be stopped. And it's because they desire us to be dead. And people need to wake up and understand that that's a real threat, and it's not going to stop unless we stop it. And
Yeah, well, a large part of that, I mean, the underpinnings of it is to create all of the anxiety and discontent in the young people so that they're looking for the escape.
that's absolutely right. So back to the Bible. That's a demonic thing that's happening. The devil comes to kill, steal, and destroy, and God is the author of life. And what we're dealing with is a light and darkness struggle, a life and death struggle. They want us dead. We want to live. We want them to live too. But if they want to kill us, we have to defend ourselves, right?
Yeah.
Um, this is it's a very interesting complex that we're involved in right now.
Let's go ahead and switch over to current events. There's still a lot of stuff that permeates from the beginning of the show that we'll go through. And what I mean by that is with the new pope, and we talked about the tall order that he has to overcome their own history. Like, does he really have the power, or does he come into that and there's an existing long-standing force behind there that dictates, dude, you need approval from us before you go public with whatever ideas you got
I
going on.
wonder. I
I
wonder about
wonder.
that.
I
Yeah.
wonder that with our government, we are seeing, and we have been seeing all kinds of that. We saw the bravado that the Trump administration came into power here a couple of months ago, and most things fizzled way out. And we're going to talk about some of those. I personally want to talk about once again how the right has been adopting woke tactics to push the anti-Semitic viewpoint so that we can push the war. And it's BLM all over again, but coming from the right. So we'll talk about that a bit.
Interesting.
Yeah, in a very depressing kind of way. And let's see. Oh, Candace Owens even chimes in on that. She's not happy. She thinks Trump has turned on the mega base. Uh, I just this morning brought up a clip from the PBD podcast from yesterday of Nancy Shanahan, who was RFK Jr.'s running mate.
Yeah, I remember.
Ooh, boy, does she got a lot to say about Manchurian candidates that are being brought in, and talk about Pam Bondi and Kash Patel's. Remember their declarations about the Epstein files, day
Yes.
one
How could I forget?
disclosure? Yeah,
Yes.
well, got a little bit from the PBD podcast. They shared some stuff on that. It's just makes me wonder uh, who's really in power, and I don't think our elected officials really have nearly as I think they are shocked at how little power they actually have. So we have the US and UK finally finalizing a new trade agreement. That's very positive news.
Yes, it is.
And let's see. Did you know Pete Hegseth, the U.S. Defense Secretary, has initiated a significant restructuring of the military's top leadership that seems to have been happening quietly. He fired a couple of long-standing generals. Did you know
Hmm.
about that?
No, I did not.
Like I said, I think it's been happening quietly. Then there's the India and Pakistan stuff going on, the war that has been brewing. And we could talk a bit about that, how that seems to be a proxy war between the US and China for a large part.
Wow, I don't know anything about that. And it just
Oh,
goes to show, Barry, that there is so much in the news right now that you can't keep up with it all. You
you
just can't
can't.
anymore. It's so much that's happening right now. I also have, Joe Biden was on The View this week.
I didn't know that.
Oh,
I would
it's
usually see clips of that.
it's terrible.
Nightmarish. Yeah, yeah.
I have some clips right here,
Oh,
as a matter
good,
of
good,
fact.
good.
But before I pull that up, I wanted to say this that I was watching an interview with William Shatner this week, and they were asking him about the meeting that President Trump had with the new prime minister up in Canada.
Ah, right.
And there was a very funny scene. It was funny to me where the Canadian prime minister and Donald Trump seemed to be getting along really well. It was actually pretty cool. And
I
they were
heard
having their
so.
they were
Yeah.
having their meeting in the I can't rem I think it's the Lincoln Room or something like that, where they always meet. And the Prime Minister of Canada, very cordial,
Mhm.
smiling, but he starts talking about how Canada is not for sale,
Yeah, yeah.
and that's when Trump says, "Well, never say never."
Yeah,
That's how
yeah.
he said it
Yeah,
too,
yeah.
and it was just kind of funny. So William Shatner was being interviewed about this, and he was talking about, William Shatner's from Canada, And he's saying, I
I didn't
think
know
that
that.
he should have turned it around and said, actually, we want you to be the ninth province of Canada. And he said, that would have brought the whole room down right there. And I just thought that was so clever
That's
and so
clever.
funny. But here's the deal. William Shatner is 93 years old,
I
and
was, yeah.
he is funny. He is thoughtful. He's quick-witted.
What's his
I,
secret?
this is, I
I mean,
don't
he's
know.
very overweight. I mean, for that age.
It's crazy how alive that
Oh
guy
yeah,
actually
yeah.
is, and I found him to be very. I just love him actually.
Did you ever watch that show, Boston Legal?
Yes, I've seen where
Yeah,
he was
he
a
was
real
great on that.
dog in that
Yeah.
movie. Like he was
Well,
such a
him and James
womanizer.
Spader, I mean, it was a good show. He played such a terrific role in it. He was pretty old back then.
I mean, he's done such a great job with his age, and it's funny because he started out as this guy that was the captain of the Enterprise, and
Yeah,
he's the youngest captain in
yeah,
Starfleet,
yeah.
right? And now here he is.
Swashbuckler.
I'm telling you, he could still be flying that Enterprise around. But then we've got Joe Biden in The View. I don't know how old is Joe Biden. He's in his
He's at
80.
80s, mid
Okay,
like 84, I think, 83
so
or 84.
this is Megan Kelly. She's going to do the lead up here, and just listen to what she has to say, and then we'll just show Biden for a couple of seconds here. But this is interesting.
Here's a little bit more. Speaking of those around him who covered up his infirmity, or at least that's where my mind went. Dr. Jill was there too, and as usual, came to the rescue. Watch SOT 38.
Usual.
What is your response to these allegations, or are these sources wrong?
They are wrong. There's nothing to sustain that, number one. Number two, think
This
of
is about the books.
what we're left with. We're left with a circumstance where we had an insurrection when I started,
Oh, brother.
not since the Civil War. We had a circumstance where we were in a position that the pandemic, because of the incompetence of the last outfit, end up over 1 million people dying. 1 million people dying.
Oh my
We're also in a situation where
Banging that
we
drum.
found ourselves unable to deal with a lot of just basic issues, and which I won't go into in the interest of time. And so we went to work, and we got it done. And one of the things that well, I'm
Well,
talking
and
too long.
Alyssa, one of the things I think is that
Oh
the
boy.
people who wrote those books were not in the White House with us. And they didn't see how hard Joe worked every
Oh,
single
good Lord.
I mean, he'd get up, he'd put in a full day,
Oh,
and then
jeez.
at night I'd be in bed, reading my book, and he was still on the phone
Who's
reading
buying
briefings,
this?
working with staff. I mean, it was nonstop. It's the White House. Being president is not like a job. It's a lifestyle. It's a life that you live. You live it 24 hours a day. That phone can ring at 11 o'clock at night or 2 in the morning. It's constant. You never leave it. And Joe worked really hard. I think he was a great president. And if you look at
Filibustering.
things today,
All right, and it goes on from there, just like that. What do you think, Barry?
That was really, really disturbing. I mean, the cat was out of the bag 100% when Joe would not step down, and he had, and Scarborough is on the morning show telling us, and you could go F yourselves if you don't think this is the sharpest Biden we've ever seen. 10 days later, he's on the same morning show defending him stepping down and trying to, we got to put in Harris because he
10
compromised.
days.
Yep,
Wow.
it was.
Wow.
Right
Later
there,
in,
all the cat. I'm sorry, I just got to put a capper on that. The cat was out of the bag. That the media was complicit with the White House in covering up all of what the game they're still trying to play right there.
That's exactly right. Later, Megyn Kelly actually talks about, brings up the Belichick interview and how Jill
Oh,
jumping
wow.
into that was a lot like that.
Mm.
But look how quickly she jumped in
Hmm.
to take over that speech that he was giving when he faltered again.
Yep.
And this is it's and she talks about how hard it is to be the president. And you have to start to think that, well, that's because she actually was the acting president during that time. I mean, it was hard for her. At least she was reading a book. Who knows what Joe Biden was doing here? Let's just look a little bit more here.
And it's
They're
been
so
reported
fucking
that you
pathetic.
created a sort of cocoon around him and kind of limited his interactions with the media and others. Do you think you could have been too close to the situation to objectively gauge whether he could handle a full 4 more years?
I was with Joe day and night. I saw him more than any other person. Woke up with him. I went to bed at night with him. So I saw him all throughout the day, and I did not create a cocoon around him. I mean, you saw him in the Oval Office. You saw him making speeches. He wasn't hiding somewhere. I didn't have him, sequestered in some place. I mean, that's ridiculous.
Hey, this is just it just goes on with that, but it's like his nanny is defending him. Yeah, it's like as if he's a little boy. Like, oh, well, Joey, he's really a smart young man, and she sounds so much like the teacher that
you answered all the questions
correctly.
Yeah.
Yay, and then the other thing too is look at Joe while she's talking. He checks out.
He's totally gone. Yeah, he was totally gone.
Okay, so
oh.
it brings up a lot of questions, right? So it's only a little bit over 100 days past the fact that he was in office. So he didn't just get like that. He was like that the entire time.
Of
We
course.
all know it. All the
so
journalists.
Who was running the country?
Who was running the country?
Then
and
that's
we also
still...
heard. Yeah.
No, go ahead.
We also heard that he had the electronic signature. And so somebody, maybe Jill, was doing the signing for him.
I think you're giving her way too much credit.
Maybe, but we have to look at the history on this too, because you look at a guy very much of the same mind as Joe Biden was Woodrow Wilson. Very similar thing happened where Woodrow Wilson has a stroke. And he's got 2 more years left in his presidency, but still runs the country to the very end of his presidency. Turns out it was his wife running the entire time. And that's well documented. And she's in the exact same mold as Jill. It's pretty when you listen to her and you see her actions and you see how she's always jumping up and leading them around and defending them. I don't know, Barry. Maybe I am giving her too much credit.
Way too much credit. She just likes the accolades. She likes being princess. But the fact is, the difference between him and Wilson is the fact that now there is the largest organization in the history of mankind behind that president. It was a very trim, sparse government, lean government back then. Of course, the wife would take over. I mean, who else was there to turn to? It's
there was a lot to turn to back then. He had his handlers as well back then. I don't agree with that part. The government was very, very strong and powerful, and the population was huge back then too. So, but I do believe what you said about it couldn't have only been her. I think she was a part of it. That's what I'm saying. And you look at she was a part of the team that was covering it up, and naturally. Because who would know better than her that he's got dementia?
Yeah. I think we all know that quite well by now.
Because she went to bed with him. I mean, she saw him, and she said she saw him at 11 o'clock on the phone. I wonder if there was anybody on the other end of the phone.
Yeah, that's a good point. I was going to say it wasn't Joe answering that phone. It was her.
Right. Yeah. You think about that commercial. Remember the Hillary Clinton campaign where it was, who would you like to answer the phone at 2 o'clock in the morning? And it's the phone ringing. And it's like, well, think about Joe Biden answering the phone at 2 o'clock in the morning. I can't imagine that. I can't imagine them letting him do that.
No one's answering the phone in this house only 2 a.m. I'll tell you
no.
that. Okay, so I want to move on to just once again talk about the right's new woke movement, the woke right, the anti-Semitism thing, which it's really going on, I think, pushed mostly by the media and trying to find anybody that they can brand with the anti-Semitism thing, put that out in the forefront and stir up the emotions and try to justify the military-industrial complex and Donald Trump's move into war with anything that Israel wants. I think there's a lot of AIPAC going on there. There's certainly, I keep forgetting the name, Miriam, what's her last name? The largest donor to Donald Trump.
Oh, yeah, I don't know her name.
Yeah, she had a very rich husband. She inherited it all. I should put that in my notes. Anyways, they, anytime Kanye West, that nut job, opens up his mouth, they push him out in front of the lead because he likes to throw out Nazi stuff to shake everybody up. And so the media is going to jump on that, push him out in front, and talk about how everybody's an anti-Semite today. Well, what just happened last week was, do you know Dave Portnoy?
Yeah.
I know his name. I see him in the headlines here and there, but I don't really read whatever's going on with him. He's the owner of Barstool Sports, and I don't know a lot about that either, but it's a real guy thing. I think they do betting.
Yeah, it's correct? A gambling organization, yes.
And
then he also does this pizza thing that he's famous for. He goes to the pizza places in New York and he orders a pizza and he does a rating. And a lot of these guys
big guy thing.
Like the owner sometimes comes out. It's like, what the hell are you doing out here? It's actually kind of fun to watch.
Oh, okay. Didn't know any of that. So it's cool. It's a big guy thing. I just feel like I missed the boat on it by a few years. But he comes out, so what I'm told, actually, Dave Smith woke me up to this. He did a little bit on talking about this, how Dave kind of took the bait. And Portnoy is tried to not be political about things. And yet he seems to be the bro. And people want him to take the lead on being a man and standing up for things. And he took the bait on so 2 kids were in his bar, and I think it was Philadelphia. I have it written here somewhere.
He's a New York guy.
Okay, Philadelphia's close. Okay, so in New York, and 2 college kids. I have that. I should just read my notes. But 2 college kids were holding up a sign that said "F the Jews," and he heard about it, and so 2 waitresses were fired. He fired immediately 2 waitresses who did not immediately kick these kids out like they knew what to do. And he goes on this Portnoy goes on this big tirade about how offended he is about these 2 college kids holding up this sign and all of that. And I have a video from CBS, how they aired it, and Fox as well, with Dana Perino. Yeah. I kind of disappointed that they put Dana Perino up to that because she's kind of
so nice,
moderate and nice and everything. And but Fox kind of got sucked into this too. But here's an explanation of.
Okay, all right, cool.
Oh, I forgot to. And let me know if it's too loud. Where's the...
A Philadelphia bar is at the center of controversy after an anti-Semitic incident. Philadelphia police are now looking into this matter. Our Ray Strickland tells us about what happened at Barstool Sansom Street last night.
Oh, okay.
I've been shaking. I've been so mad.
The founder of Barstool Sports, Dave Portnoy, posting this video to Instagram, responding to an incident involving an anti-Semitic sign at his Center City bar.
I'm trying to be a little responsible. I'm trying to keep it together, but I'm on it.
Portnoy, who is Jewish, explained the sign put together by staff came with bottle service for some customers with a message that the buyer crafts. It said, expletive, the Jews. Portnoy says the 2 waitresses involved have been fired. He says the people who did it were, quote, 2 kids who go to Temple University. Temple's president, John Fry, released a letter saying the university is conducting an investigation into what happened. He said a student believed to have been involved has been placed on interim suspension. The president went on to say in part, quote, in the strongest terms possible, let me be clear. Anti-Semitism is abhorrent and has no place at Temple, and acts of hatred and discrimination against any person or persons are not tolerated at this university.
Okay, that's enough of that one.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's just laying everything on way too thick. I went through this with Chad as well, and I took some notes on it. And I said, is this working? Because this harkens back to what I said. The chat was, this just reminds me of Black Lives Matter all over again. And let's face it, what was Black Lives Matter? It's about a racial group that, if I recall, I'll get the stat wrong by about 1%, but about 94% of violent crime against Black people is caused by other Black people.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
But we're supposed to now believe Black Lives Matter like everybody else was the problem here. And so what would they do? They would take every crime they could find out of context, clip the video, and throw it out into the public. All the mainstream media would do this to fan the flames, which is abhorrent. And so this is the same thing that's happening all over again, but by the right, who were the big opponents of all of this, and called everybody woke. And this is what was tearing down woke. Woke was supposed to be a very positive thing. I'm awake, I'm woke. And now it became a pejorative. And so I said, is this actually working? And Chat says, yeah, the anti-Semitism is very loud, but mixed in effect from the right. Neoconservatives and AIPAC and certain influencers are weaponizing anti-Semitism. Oh, anti-Semitism to defend Israel. Yeah, anti-Semitic. To defend Israel's actions and shut down criticism. It's the Israel thing again. And
it's so interesting.
Critics of Israel policy are being labeled anti-Semites, even if they're Jewish, like Dave Smith is, and are for pro-human rights. That mirrors BLM-style emotional framing, but flipped politically using guilt, fear, and institutional pressure. It's the same damn thing. So people are not falling for it like before, and here's why. BLM fatigue broke the spell for a lot of people, and there are suspicions of guilt-based activism now. Gen Z and millennials are more pro-Palestinian than generations before, across political lines. Even normies are seeing the double standard of free speech for Ukraine, but not for Gaza. Many conservatives are uncomfortable with being told what they are allowed to say, even by their own side. So, yeah, I mean, I'm just going to end with Candace Owens' critique on Trump. This is just kind of related, but I want to get your feedback.
Yeah.
Candace Owens says that Trump is allegedly abandoning his America First stance, particularly in relation to Israel and free speech issues. She expresses concern over the administration's actions against universities and suggests that Trump is turning on the MAGA base. There started to be a lot of talk about Trump turning on the Make America Great Again base because he's so Israel everything and trying, bringing in Iran, whatever AIPAC wants. And man, most of MAGA has been about make America great again and get out of this crap. What's going on?
Yeah, it's concerning on all fronts here, what's happening in the world. And
it got me worked up right there. I'm really mad right now. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, you look at the story, the Dave Portnoy story, and they've blown that all out of proportion. I mean, there's a sign that somebody made that said F the Jews. I mean, who cares? I mean, really, if somebody came in and there was a sign that said F you, N-word, I would probably laugh like I just did then, right? Okay, these are ignorant people. I realize there's a problem that's happened on college campuses, but going after people in a restaurant like this and then reporting them to the college so that the college investigates them, that seems like a violation of free speech to me.
Portnoy even said that he is taking them, he is buying them their tickets, he is taking them to Auschwitz. This is how freaking far gone he went with this.
Taking
so that they could
Auschwitz.
Learn. So,
okay.
The critique on
I don't
this
know why you would want to do that. Like, first off,
giving them a vacation to Europe.
And, why be so offended? That's the part I think is the hard part, is that when we're so offended, it seems like it encourages more of the same.
That's exactly
right. Like I just go. I know you love when I go back to my amusement park stories, Barry.
Every week.
I'll just say it again. It's a big influential part of my life.
Yeah.
But I just remember I got called the N-word all the time. And the more I reacted to it, the more gasoline got poured on the situation. And the more, if I could just absorb that.
Because they were trying to get a reaction out of it.
That's right. The more I reacted, the happier they got. And, and now here was the thing that I figured out, is that if I react in a way that they weren't expecting, it really, first off, is very fun for me, and because it totally surprises them and it takes them right off their pegs. Like if I were to laugh and and just say that was a good one,
right?
they don't know what to do with that, right? It's just
no, it would make them more angry for sure.
Yeah, like I wasn't able to get them with that. And I mean, if Dave Portnoy, I could see kicking him out for that. Okay, guys,
kicking him out,
sure.
It
was nice seeing you. When you change your attitude, come back. That's kind of what I would say. And
he said in that rant, he wants to destroy their lives. Who does that sound like, dude?
I mean,
it sounds like the radical left, cancel culture, trying to destroy everyone's life that disagrees with them. This is my point about this right movement.
There's no spirit of forgiveness here. See, this is the thing too. Go back to our spiritual conversation from before, is that the thing that changes things is love and forgiveness.
Oh yeah. You just illustrated that. Yeah.
And look, if we don't do that, then what's happening? It's tit for tat. That's all that keeps on happening. So if you want to protect yourself from further destruction, then it's for love and forgiveness. But if your pride rises, this is all about pride, by the way. Pride goeth before the fall. And look, my pride has caused more black and blue marks on my face than anything in my life. This is where we have to stuff our pride down, and we have to love and forgive. These two things are partners in life, and that's how you change people. We were talking about grace.
It did it to me when I met you in college, and I was from a blue collar family. I've said it on here before. And we used to, everybody in the neighborhood and my family and all that, you just it's a dig. Everything's a dig. Try to get at somebody. And nothing ever affected you and your brother. And I'd be like,
he worked at the amusement park too.
What do they got that I don't have? And it made me take a look inside.
Well, you were so fun. Regarding that, I got to just say, man, you played our game, and it was really fun. And you're such a great sport too, you just have such a great loving, even with all the digs and everything. You could see through that. You just have a big loving heart.
Well, my point to that is unconditional love will get through to most.
It'll change people. It changes people. And this is where we started when you said, well, it sounds like you're saying that you could just go out there and sin and do whatever you want. What I'm saying is that, no, when you inflict love and forgiveness on somebody, they don't want to do that anymore.
Right.
Just like what you're saying, it's like you're trying to dig me, and I was giving you love and forgiveness, and you just didn't want to. It wasn't any fun for you anymore.
No, it made me curious. It literally made me go, "What does he have that I don't?"
Right,
have?
And I thought,
and I want that.
I agree, and I've seen very powerful people in that mode. My mom is really great at that. She's so good, and the love and forgiveness thing. I just, for me, it was sort of like, God, I want to be more like her. And what I found out is that she was becoming more like Jesus. And that's really, and that was happening automatically. And I had to find out how is that happening? I had to do the same thing.
Yeah.
And I remember when my father died and how she handled that, and just, how she grabbed a hold of scripture, and she would start to say these scriptures. And I remember while she was saying them that the soothing, it was almost like a warm bath of relief was coming over me. And I was like, whoa, I didn't realize that would happen. The power of understanding these scriptures and being able to have them call up in your brain during that time, I thought, I've got to learn that too. I started reading my Bible all the time because of that. It changed. My dad dying actually changed my life for the positive. Not that I wanted that to happen, but God used that as a positive and to strengthening me in this area. And that's the thing, is all these things that are meant to hurt you, when you apply God to it, they make you stronger. It is really something. Anyhow, got off on that tangent again.
Yeah, I know. And I got to get back to this because we got a lot to go over.
This is important.
All right. I'm going to put this forward with some notes for you. And then I'm going to show you this video that I found of PBD's podcast that I was listening to this morning at the gym. There's about a 1.5 to 2 minute part that I had to re-listen to again because so much came out. And if you want to go back and re-listen to it, let me know. But here are my notes. This is saying about Nancy Shanahan, who was RFK Jr.'s running mate, was talking about, it seems like they are prepping Manchurian candidates to come into the administration, had prepped, I should say. And she even talks about Lori Loomer's disappointment in Trump. And if you know who she is, that
I do.
Nutty 24, 25-year-old person who was flying around the country with him, a sycophant. I mean, literally now is disappointed in the MAGA movement not being MAGA anymore. And then there's Kash Patel is on here, and he's talking about, in the near future, we're going to get the Epstein files. And dude, this is, again, we just talked about, God, now her name escapes me, who was just killed, who committed suicide, the last surviving witness, I should say lead witness in the Epstein thing. Mm-hmm. And I just kind of come away with this saying, our elected officials are a joke, and they're just finding this out. The bravado that they came into the administration with, and now all of a sudden it's quiet. They can't do anything, is what they're finding out. So let's, like I said, you may want me to replay some of this, okay? Let's go.
Got some stuff on real powerful people around the world, some billionaires.
Yep.
Why give up that control? Why give up that asset? Let's use it to control it. Now, that's the mindset of somebody that runs the free world. You don't think like everybody else. If a lion could speak, you could not understand it, right? Then there is everybody else who, to you, the value is what? Listen, they did this to kids. I have zero tolerance for that. I fully understand that.
I should say, he's talking about the Epstein files, and he was saying one reason they may not want to release them is, and this would come from Trump. Trump's a deal maker. And if you got major dirt on some really key players, you may not want to just play your hand right now. You may want to use it and keep it hanging over their heads. That's what he's talking about.
Mm-hmm. Fully get it. I want to know who's on that list. I want to know who's on that list. I want to know what happened with 9/11. I want to know what happened with the moon landing. I want to know what happened. I want to know. I want to know. I want to know. But and then let me show you another weird tweet that just came out. Who was the VP candidate for RF Kennedy Jr.?
Shanahan.
Did you hear what she said yesterday, Rob? Can you pull up the tweet of what she just said yesterday?
Yeah.
Very weird, folks.
Oh, really?
You haven't
I haven't
seen it?
seen it.
Yeah. Rob, pull up this clip here. Do you know which one it is?
Yep, I have it right here.
So watch this. This is such a weird tweet. This is Nicole Shanahan. Can you verify that it's her account? Go on her account. Okay. How many followers? That's her account.
Yes,
okay?
it is. I checked.
Okay, go back. Now let's read the tweet. Yes, it's very strange. It doesn't make any sense. I was promised that if I supported RFK Jr. in a Senate confirmation that neither of these siblings would be working under HHS or in an appointment, and that people much more qualified would be. I don't know if RFK very clearly lied to me or what is going on. Wow. It has been clear in recent conversation that he is reporting to someone regularly who is controlling his decisions, and it isn't President Trump. Whoa. With regards to the siblings, there is something very artificial and aggressive about them, almost like they were bred and raised Manchurian assets.
What?
Nicole Shanahan.
And what is she talking about?
She's talking about the new person that got the job. So click on that. So Dr. Jack Cruz tried to tell us Mary Talley Bowen was on a podcast too. She knows the deal with means. Let's see how this pans out. I can't help but think this is a very carefully groomed and selected person. Just about no clinical experience, talks a great game and everything but vaccines, feels all wrong. Why? There are so many better choices. Click on that. And this is the appointment of Dr. Casey to be the next Surgeon General, which Laura Loomer posts something about the fact that she doesn't even have her license active as of last November of 2024, January of 2024, I believe. And
she said something to the effect of disappointed in Team Trump.
Well,
something to that effect. For Laura Loomer to say that?
Well, he was supposed to go somewhere else.
That she feels some type of way.
There was another nominee. It was a female, correct? And then they did this last minute. He didn't pick the girl that he was supposed to get.
Now, Casey means real first name Paula. Only recently started going by her name Casey. She moved to Oregon, complete her residency, but decided to drop out on her final year. Now she doesn't even have an active medical license. Trump appoints her as U.S. Surgeon General today. Something just isn't adding up. Why?
Are you getting that right there?
Yeah, I've actually done a lot of research on this. Go ahead.
Oh, continue.
Yeah.
Why would you go by a different name your whole life and then randomly decide to start going by Casey once you become a social media influencer? Dr. Paula means, I don't know. So,
and then who's her sibling? She said nominated these siblings.
It's her brother. Yeah.
Didn't she say that in the first sentence?
Yeah. If you type,
she does work with her brother.
Her brother is Callie Means, an entrepreneur and health policy advocate.
Was he work for?
Who is 40 years old.
Does he work for any pharmaceutical companies or anything like that?
No.
Together, the Means siblings co-authored the 2024 book, Good Energy, The Surprising Connection Between Metabolism and Limitless Health, which critiques the U.S. healthcare system and emphasizes the role of metabolic health in preventing chronic diseases. Okay. They've been influential figures in the MAGA movement, advising Health and Human Services Secretary RFK on health policy. Their advocacy focuses on promoting whole food diets, reducing...
All right. What do you make of all this?
Well, here's what I make of it. I would go with PBD. I don't know. I don't know. We're just learning about this person, but this is I saw a great video of her this week where she's talking about the things that she didn't learn in medical school. She is a graduate of medical school, and she did not complete her residency. It's a 5-year residency. She didn't finish her 5th year because she felt disillusioned with the healthcare system. She talks about that in a video. I actually have the video here. It's about 6 minutes long, but she goes into all of the things that she didn't learn, and most of it had to do with nutrition. And it's very illuminating. You know, we have a crisis in healthcare right now. Oh, yeah. It's happening. It's turned into a death machine, and so people are rightly putting her under the microscope to take a look at things, but some of the information that's coming out is just not correct. They're trying to say, number one, that she doesn't have a medical license. She actually does have a medical license. In December of 24, she actually moved to end her medical license, which expires at the end of this year. So she actually does have a medical license, but just before Donald Trump was elected, she put out an article here. It's a newsletter number 35, My Health Wish List for the Next Administration. And she goes into great detail on about 10 different things. I'm just going to read a couple of them because all of this background stuff, Manchurian Candidate, you have to realize that what she's coming out to say is it's shaking up the whole healthcare industry that has extremely deep pockets, and it's going against what they stand for. These are very powerful people that have ways and means of influencing other people to say things. And and so I'm not surprised that all of this controversy comes up. And I'm going to say that this is kind of like the fog of war. I don't know the answer, but here are some of the things he stands for: remove conflicts of interest and industry influence in the national school lunch program and serve children nutritious, real foods in school. She goes on to say that our school lunches are the biggest restaurant in the country, serving 7 billion meals a year, and that school children are consuming these foods between 30 and 100% of their calories per day. And unfortunately, these foods are like just last year, the USDA brokered a deal with ultra processed food manufacturer Kraft Heinz to get Lunchables into the school cafeterias. And if you look at what's inside of those Lunchables, they're going to kill those kids. And number two, investigate toxins in our food supply and restrict ban or ban those that are known to cause diseases in animals and humans. And she goes on to talk. All of this is documented to the hilt. In fact, I'm gonna show you what I'm looking at right now, because it's not just her coming up with this stuff. She has all of these things documented. Investigate toxins in our food supply. Here's 4,000 chemicals in American food supply. These are all documented by journals and studies. Here's the FDA totally corroborating on that, including known cancer-causing substances. It goes on and on. This is eliminate the ability of pharmaceutical companies to advertise directly to consumers on TV. You and I have talked about that before. Whoops. I didn't mean to do that. Am I still sharing?
Yeah, you're fine, dude.
Okay. Let me get back to that newsletter again. If this is, and we know why we don't want them to be advertising. It's because when they advertise, they have the ability to inflict. They have a direct line to networks that can influence what messages are emphasized on the news and what is deemed misinformation or truth. Number five,
I just want to make that super clear. If CNN is brought to you by Pfizer, that's a conflict of interest.
That's exactly right, for just the reason we just mentioned. Number five, prevent the pharmaceutical and processed food industry from buying influence at the FDA and USDA. Big Pharma funds 75% of the FDA's drug approval budget. Did you know that?
Mm-hmm. And
we've talked about this. Go ahead.
They also get favor from the FDA by giving their ex-employees new multi-million-dollar positions at Big Pharma after they leave the FDA. That's how that game works.
Listen to this. An egregious example was a massive paper funded by the NIH and done at Tufts that showed that Lucky Charms are apparently healthier than ground beef. Unsurprisingly, the lead author was funded by several ultra-processed food and pharmaceutical companies. That's what's going on. Now you can see why all of these entities are coming after to say, oh, she's the devil. Remove conflicts of interest at the NIH. That's a big deal. Consider meaningful value-based care models for healthcare. That changes all of healthcare right there. There's a lot of money in this stuff. Incentives incent healthy food purchases on SNAP and other public assistance food programs. They want to take all the soft drinks out of this and all the things that are causing diabetes, which is one of the number one food-caused illnesses that causes death. Number 9, reform crop subsidies and create programs to rapidly increase adoption of regenerative farming practices. She talks about how there's 1 billion pounds of pesticides that are poured onto our farm products in America every year, 1 billion.
Most notably glyphosate, which is Roundup, yeah.
And we talked about the folic acid being sprayed on all of our grain products. It's causing, number one, this weight gain, diabetes, and just lethargy at the very least. Break up the meatpacking monopolies and reform burdensome food regulations. You see, they saw all of this, Barry, and they do not want this. And the list goes on and on and on. This is a very, very sharp sounding person to me. I started to see all of this. This is the wrong choice from Laura Loomer and all of these other people, JFK's former running mate turning against him. Remember how the entire Kennedy family turned against RFK Jr. How could they make that happen? It sounds like there's a very powerful entity out there that is causing people to come against everything this administration has stood for. And when it comes to make America healthy again, of course they want to put the kibosh on that.
Just curious, do you have any insight as to why Casey Means changed her name from Paula or whatever?
No idea. People do it all the time. Barack Obama did it.
Good point. Okay. You had a great response to that. I really appreciate it.
Oh, yeah. I was wanting to talk about it on the show today, and Anne-Marie found all of this terrible stuff, and she said, you better do your research before you bring that up. And I said,
good job.
I will.
Yeah, good job, man. Let's see. Do you want to talk about India, Pakistan, or whatever you got?
I don't know what I had a couple of follow-ups from last week actually that I wanted to just bring up real quickly. And we were talking about freedom of speech last week, and the follow-up is that you remember I was telling you about that Texas bill that's up there. It's HB 366 that it would penalize you for putting a meme out there up to a year in jail. And then we started to find out, this is what we talked about last week. And then I was actually able to pull up an article that said it wasn't just you sending a meme, it's actually political people that are holding office that have spent more than $100 on political advertising, putting out deep fakes. That's what the problem was that they brought up. Well, on further looking into this further, what I found out, the Republican leader of the House, Tom Phelan, who everybody's all mad at as a result of this, he actually was a victim of a deep fake. And so this is why this bill had come up during his campaign. The deep fake was him hugging Nancy Pelosi, and somebody pasted his head on the body of somebody else, and he almost lost the election.
Oh my God.
And so, I mean, the fact is that these deep fakes can actually cause this can have a serious impact on elections. And I just
what else can is censoring news on Hunter Biden's laptop.
Yeah, see, this is the whole thing about manipulation of the media and news and our ability to have free speech. And so when you take a look at this article here, it's going more into depth on this, and there were some things that I thought were meaningful to think about, because we're talking about if they were to do this, obviously there's a potential of squelching our free speech. This is somebody talking about it. He says, technically, under the bill's provisions, broadcasters are basically protected. However, I would make the argument that somebody might claim, you knew this was AI generated. You knew this was a fake to begin with. You had a responsibility to prevent it from being aired, and yet you aired it, meaning somebody passes it along to you as a citizen and you put that out there, you could be under this law as well and go to jail for a year, thus squelching free speech.
Yeah.
And this is the dangerous tightrope that we're on. There are several items in the court system right now that are all about these free speech issues around imaging and deep fakes. It's a very interesting thing that's getting worked out. I'll just give you one of those court cases that I found really interesting, Barry. This is in a groundbreaking move. The family of Christopher Pelkey utilized AI to recreate his likeness and voice for a victim impact statement during the sentencing of Gabriel Paul Horcasitas, convicted of manslaughter in 2001 road rage incident. The AI generated video based on a script by Pelkey's sister portrayed Pelkey expressing forgiveness and advocating love. He's dead. While Arizona law permits digital victim statements, this unprecedented use of AI in court has raised ethical concerns about potential misuse and the influence of deep fakes in legal proceedings. So he's dead, and this was actually the family advocating forgiveness for the perpetrator, but obviously it had an impact on the jury, and it wasn't really him, the victim who is dead, speaking. It was a deep fake. Very interesting how that was used, and the implications of how deep fakes could be used on just about anything.
Yeah, that is what we talked about last week, dude. I don't know how we're gonna hash that out.
I don't either. That's a tough one right there, man.
I mean, take that one step further, and we have realistic holograms. And now, hey, I saw this guy. I took a video with my phone. Here it is. I mean, that seems like, we're almost there. What do you do about that?
This is, I think this is something very worthy of watching, because really, when it comes, as we've said time and time again, when it comes to free speech, the important factor is that free speech, number one, we're not talking about speech people like, right? Because why would you need a law about speech people like? This is speech people don't like.
Might even hurt your feelings.
And yet speech can be restricted so much that you don't actually get the truth. And so our whole concept of America is that we are free thinkers, because if you can control somebody's speech, you can control how they think. And we are free, and free indeed. But then you take a look at this deep fake thing, and we are into a whole new realm. And how do we still have freedom here with this technology? It smacks of the fact that we need an amendment to our Constitution that would be a electronic Bill of Rights, let's say, where we can agree on how this works, because right now this is a runaway freight train.
Yeah, for sure. We got to start winding it up here.
Yep.
I just want to mention about this India and Pakistan, the tensions going on, the escalating war tensions between these two nations. India, their primary defense suppliers, historically Russia, but increasingly the United States. And in recent years, U.S.-India military ties have grown under agreements like Kamkasa and Becca. Do you know those? I don't. It's way beyond.
No, it stands for something cool, I'm sure.
I just want to get to a brief point. And I thought you would have a lot to add on this stuff. But the point I want to start with is I am primarily, and I am not the big political guru. I always look to you for your opinions. I'm primarily a non-interventional person. Like, yeah, let's take care of our stuff here. Let's stop with the military industrial complex crap and so on and so forth. But this one is where everything gets to be a very, very slippery slope. Okay, so the U.S. sees India as a counterbalance to China in the Indo-Pacific region. Pakistan. So this is the India and Pakistan tension. So now Pakistan.
And they've hated each other for a long time.
Yeah, a long time. So their primary defense supplier, China. including joint ventures on tanks, missiles, and fighter jets like the JF-17 Thunder. What does this mean for the military-industrial complex? India versus Pakistan tensions create a proxy stage for testing U.S. tech versus China's tech, without direct superpower conflict. It provides political cover for weapons sales, defense budgets, and ongoing R&D. U.S. and China both benefit economically in the short term from the instability by arming their partners.
Oh, this is terrible.
Isn't it sickening?
It is sickening, and it reminds me of the Spanish Civil War in the 1930s, where the USSR backed one side and Germany backed another, and they tested out their military equipment on each side as the Spanish were dying by the thousands every day. The result was that Blitzkrieg was perfected by Hitler before that, which was a new form of air warfare that had never been seen before. And it changed the tactics of World War II. In fact, it enabled Hitler to take over all of Europe within the first year of the war. This is a prelude to a much bigger picture as the precedent has been set in the past. So this is a terrible, terrible thing. And one other thing I'll bring up is that we left that airfield intact, that airport in Pakistan, that multi-billion-dollar state-of-the-art airport that could handle more traffic, more air traffic than any military airport or civilian airport in the world. And the Chinese now have total access to that.
Oh, my God.
We gave that to them, and that was Joe Biden's decision, and now look what it's caused.
Oh, and that reeks of Afghanistan as well. Well,
so never mind.
Okay, because actually, it's a good time to wrap up. Your mic's been cutting out.
Is it? Oh my God! It sounds so great in my ears.
I just didn't hear the last thing that you said. When I said about this reeks of Afghanistan, I didn't hear.
I was saying, that's right. That's where that airport was. I made a mistake. It's not in Pakistan. So that's good. We left that multi-billion-dollar airport in Afghanistan when we left.
Okay,
Pakistan. Okay, but the country right next door is Afghanistan, and they do have access to that as well. The bottom line is we left billions of dollars of equipment for the Chinese.
Yes, and there you go. Perfect. With that, we're just going to lighten up, and as we depart, I wanted to share this picture with you. This is Charlie last night. Every evening at the end of our walk, he wants to go by Ula's house, his best friend, and see if she's there. Once in a while.
Oh, I see her.
I was wondering if you would. Well, look at this, Merle.
I love that.
I sent this to Human Charlie, her owner, and he just replied, Romeo and Juliet.
Oh, that's so sweet.
They love each other.
I love that, Barry.
Yeah. So he and Ula this morning got to play with their mutual buddy, Arthur, the cute little beagle. And they are the Three Musketeers. And it is wonderful. I was thinking as I was getting ready for the podcast about how much I enjoyed this. And it's like my adult version of my childhood. My three neighbors, my friends, we go to the park and, this is our kind of play now. We watch our dogs play and just have some laughs and stuff. It's wonderful.
That's pretty cool, Barry. I love that. Very nice. And I mean, you got the springtime happening over there.
God,
all the flowers are blooming, and I know it smells really nice out there. I always got so giddy this time of year in Cleveland.
Yeah. And I'm using that neti pot a lot more religiously right now because of all the stuff in the air. That's that cleans out your sinuses.
The thing that thing works like a charm too, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
I was afraid of it at first because it's like, what? Shooting water up your nose?
I remember when I talked about it before a couple of months ago, you're like, yeah, it's like waterboarding yourself.
It really is. It's like if you don't do that right.
Yeah. yeah. And use warm water. Trust me.
Yeah. Don't. I found that out the hard way.
Yeah. All right, buddy. With that, we got to get going.
All right. Great stuff.
Thank you
man.
for all your stuff. Yeah, you were very prepared and had a lot of good shares. Really.
Oh, so are you. Yeah, it was really good. I didn't know how it was going to come together as usual, and no, it always comes together so nicely.
It really did. Okay.
We got Mark after this.
Yes, we do. Thank you. And go to over50startingover.com. Sign up. Get all this great stuff to your email box as it happens. We are on YouTube at Over 50 Starting Over, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Get both your video and audio there. And, of course, Google Podcasts. Please sign up. Give us a review. Leave us a comment. Any of those places. That'd be great. Love to hear from you.
Right on.
Hey there, Over 50 Starting Over friends. Mark Tennant back with you with your AI tip of the week. This week, ChatGPT's latest image generator. This is going to be fun. Let's get going. So as you know, ChatGPT is slowly becoming an all-in-one AI solution, kind of like a Swiss Army knife of AI solutions, especially with its latest capabilities of its image generator. It's stunning, the changes that have been made and the improvements, and we're going to talk about that, and you're going to see it here in just a second. So in March of 2025, thereabouts, huge breakthrough in AI capabilities of image generation from OpenAI and incorporated directly into ChatGPT. Why is this huge? Well, I'll tell you, because it has the ability now to give you and create stunning, beautiful images and visuals in a matter of seconds, and you're the creator. Huge time saver, huge savings in money, and we'll show you here, again, those examples in just a bit. So a little bit of history. DALL-E was the first series of image generators from OpenAI and ChatGPT. Didn't do a bad job. They were actually pretty good, and I've used them quite a bit. So this was a DALL-E example. This was from a presentation I did, I think, in 2024. And essentially, it was just create an image of a room full of business people sitting at a large round table discussing establishing an AI council. And this is what it came up with. And it fit the bill. It suited its purpose. It was okay for my presentation. But now, with its new image generating capabilities, I took that same prompt and just entered it right before I recorded this AI tip of the week, and this is what it came up with. More realistic, look at that. And they even diversified, if you will, the audience, which is cool. So with the new image generating capabilities, you get higher quality, more realistic. You can expect rich details, sharper focus, and better textures. It's amazing. Better prompt understanding. So here's what really is a good feature of this. ChatGPT now better understands your prompts. You can give complex descriptions of images. You can give it more nuance. You can layer your ideas. In other words, you can have it generate a basic image and then go back and edit it. Now, again, all you have to do is just talk to the AI. You can get creative for more accurate results. You have more control now. You can get and request specific art styles. You can request it to be a watercolor, a pencil sketch, even photorealistic, and you'll see that here in just a second. It's like having your own design team right at your fingertips, and you are that creator. So what else can you do with the new image generating capabilities? You can create sales and marketing visuals. You can create logos, social posts, backgrounds, thumbnails, all done in seconds with a single prompt. Mock-ups and concepts. If you have a new product idea, maybe a website sketch, product redesign, whatever, you can do this all without spending a dime. Professional touches, you can take headshots that you've created, upload them to ChatGPT, and create corporate headshots with nice styles to them. If you're in real estate, you could take your pictures of a new listing, run them through ChatGPT's new image generating capabilities, and create the most stunning visuals you'll have. You will be at the top of your real estate selling class. And presentation visuals, fantastic for that. So how do you prompt this thing to get really good results? Well, start with a prompt like in this style. So take a subject, plus a scene or context, plus some style, plus some lighting and composition. And that's a great place to start. So I had ChatGPT take this style and create me a prompt for a new product. In this case, it came up with an insulated water bottle. Look at that. Amazing, fantastic. It looks like a professional photographer took that picture, but I created it in seconds. Now, I went back and said, I like that, but change the scene to be at a beach in the summer on a warm summer day. And look at that. So wrapping up, and I get so excited about these image generators and the capabilities. Plus, it's fun working with them. Create images for your business or a project. You can save hours of time. Do something personal on the side. It will help you out no matter what your need in the topic. Be specific, mention style, add a vibe, add a mood, upload an image, and build and edit it in ChatGPT directly. Create powerful tools for your business, content creation, and use your imagination because you're only limited by that. So have fun, get creative, create your own personal design team. And for your best AI learning resource online, or one of the best, I have a podcast that's out, AI After 50. It's a weekly podcast. I hope you join me for that. Get it wherever you get your podcasts. So until next time, keep using ChatGPT, have fun with images, and take care.